that we can save maybe some lifetimes. That's a whole other can of worm there, multiple lifetimes. We'll talk about that another time. So, but we're on this path. We're on a path to a new understanding. And we begin with the fact that our perception of the world is wrong. This is like really simple. If I'm suffering, this is what I want to accept for me. If I'm suffering, it means I'm seeing the world incorrectly. But no, when I look, it looks very clear that this is the way it is. Am I suffering? Yes, if I'm suffering, I'm seeing it incorrectly. Let me just take that as the thesis. I'm going to start with that. That I'm seeing it incorrectly if I'm suffering. So we make the world we see through our thoughts. So if how I perceive the world is based on how I think, then that means that I can change how I see the world by changing how I think. So we make the world we see through our thoughts, but we also believe that that world is infringing on us. So we're not actually believing that we're making the world through our thoughts. We're actually thinking that the world is pushing on us. We think the world is like putting its effects on us. So we want to change that around. Our decisions and our actions are the cause for the effects that we see. But we believe that the effects are the cause of our happiness or our unhappiness. But we are the cause. And what the Course tells us is that we can never be at the effect because we are the cause. We believe that things happen and that's what causes us to be either happy or unhappy. But we're the cause based on how we think about what happens. And this is what, and I bring it up again because it's such an important book. If you read Man's Search for Happiness, or Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, he's in a concentration camp. People are being killed every day around him. His family members and his friends have been destroyed. And he's a psychologist, but he makes a decision that they do have control over his body. They can do anything they want to him. But he has control over his mind, and he decides to be happy. And he is. And he treats his captors with love and respect. I mean, it seems crazy when you think about it. How could he possibly do that? He decides to be happy. And then his whole life, after he's out of the concentration camp, he takes his whole life and tries to teach this principle to people, that we have control over our own minds. And if he can live through a concentration camp experience, we can certainly live through whatever is going on in our life and still decide to be happy. So our perception has been incorrect. Further, we do not know what is best for us. We think everything is seen through this fog of self-centeredness. And of course we know that that's our only problem. Self-centeredness is the core of our issues, of all of our issues. Is this, and so we see everything through that. We do not know what is in our own best interest. Because we think from the point of view of that if we get what we need, if we get our little thing that we need, then we're going to be okay. And if we don't, we won't. This is not our best interest. This just keeps us locked into that cycle of self-centeredness. Everything seen through the fog of self-centeredness is incorrect. We believe we know what is best, but we do not, because we only think of ourselves alone. Now, I want to be clear about this. It means two things. We only think of ourselves alone. It means that we see ourselves as being alone. It also means that we think of the outcomes of things based on ourselves. Even when we believe that we are thinking about the well-being of others, we are attaching our own wants and needs to those well-being. Even when we think we are sacrificing our own good for the good of someone else, we are still attaching it to our own belief about what we think is best. We are incorrect. What is best is always what is best for all of us. What is best is always the common welfare. So there is this idea of ourselves alone. First of all, it's an erroneous idea. We are not alone. So when we think of ourselves alone, we have made an error. And really, when we really start to be happy is when we stop making decisions for ourselves alone. We'll talk more about that. Not today. Even when we believe we have the best interest of others, it's from our own perspectives, clouded by fear. Today, let us ask for help in our decisions. This is like the simplest surrender that there is. What I want to do today is I want to surrender my aloneness. I want to give up my aloneness. I want to ask for help in my decisions. I want to look for guidance from that power greater than my small self. And finally, this is the last point of the morning, to say I'm on the path to happiness. Since I don't know what's best for me, and individually, I always misinterpret the world. When I say individually, I mean by myself. I always misinterpret the world. I'm confused about purpose, but I know this, that everything in the world has a purpose, including me. Everything in the world has a purpose. But I do not know what it is. Sometimes I think I have an inkling as what it is. But today, let's consider the idea that everything in the world has the purpose of being in our best interest. Now, this is a freaky idea. That everything in the world has the purpose of being for our own best interest. That every person, every situation, every event, every place, everything is for our own best interest. It's counterintuitive as it may seem, it's the truth. We rebel against it because we think that bad things are against us, and we think that it is egotistical to think that all good things are for us. So we're caught in a quandary here. But what if we thought that in the ego, we do not recognize that the purpose of anything. We don't recognize. We mistakenly believe that it is either with us or it's against us. I remember the president saying that once. It's either with us or against us. Know this, that God's will is that everything is for us. God's will is that everything is for us and with us, and that all can contribute to our shared happiness. So, well, wait a minute. When Aunt Bessie died, when I lost the company, when I made the bad investments, the Course says that everything that happens is an opportunity to know God's will. It's an opportunity for good. And the problem is that what we do is we take the event and say, if I want to believe this way, I have to say that the event was good, that the death of a loved one was good. That's not what it's saying at all. It's saying that, it's not saying that the event was either good or bad. What it's saying is that what can occur as a result is good. And that everything that happens can be a lesson for us to change our perception from living in a world of fear to living in a world of love. So, and it's such a comforting exercise to think about, to go into a room and think, and I've used this example before, and most people have experienced it. You have a meeting at work with and it could be a disciplinary meeting. It could be a meeting to solve a problem that seems unsolvable. It could be an angry customer that you have to meet with, or an angry boss. And you go into that meeting with dread. Just think how things change if you go into that meeting knowing that the people in that meeting are loving you right now. And not only that you are loving them. Just to establish that frame of mind. I don't care if you think you're fooling yourself or not. Fool yourself and see what happens. Think about going outside, even on a most blustery, wind-blowing day that we've been having lately. It's cold, and then relax your shivering. Just relax and get a sense that the entire world, and even all these harsh conditions, are loving you right now. It doesn't mean it's not going to be cold outside. But what is going to happen is you're going to experience the cold in a totally different way than you experienced it before. You go out there with dread, you're going to have one experience. You go out there with joy, a feeling, that bracing atmosphere, you're going to have a much better one. So just start to consider this idea that everything, everyone, every living thing in the world is for you. And then remember that you are for them. That's it.